Well, you use it, I use it, everyone uses social media, and it's become an intricate part of our lives, our society. And just think about how many times you're looking at your phone in a day, how many times you're visiting those famous websites, whether it's on Facebook or on Twitter, or it is on Instagram or Snapchat. Well, the list is endless, and it is being renewed on a daily basis. Many people are busy tapping away at their phones, they're tapping away at their computers, unmindful of what is happening around. But when does an active user turn into overuse, reliance, and perhaps become an addiction? Let's find out now. We're asked John Obidi, a social media expert, to tell us everything we need to know about social media addiction and how to spot if you're using a little too much and if you're addicted. John, thanks for joining us on Network Africa. So how do I know if...
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, great to have you. How do I know if I'm becoming addicted to social media?
Well, we see it all the time. Young people nowadays are not looking at the road anymore. They're looking at their phones, and sometimes it becomes a real problem when people are seated together at the dinner table and people are all on their phones and they're not even communicating with each other. Especially if you use a phone that has that LED light display when you have a new notification and your whole world just pauses because you have to see what is going on your phone, what's the latest Facebook notification, who likes your picture on Instagram, and it just keeps you addicted to that feeling of affirmation and that people are appreciating your content. It gets really addictive, and you find yourself always going there minute to minute, and you're feeding your ego with the likes and comments on social media. It can get very addictive and damage our real-world relationships.
Okay, so who are the people who are most prone to becoming addicted? I know that we news junkies are the ones who, are forever visiting websites and forever wanting to know what's going on, always wanting to break a story and things like that. But, you also have a great number of young people who are also on social media. So amongst all of us, who are the most likely to become addicted?
Yes, well, it cuts across, right? Young people are the most visible, so young people are really the hardest hit because I think with youth, you're less in control of certain actions, but even older people, like you said, in news junkies, it can get really difficult to draw the line. You go to get a story, and the next thing you're clicking on related news, and you have spent 1 hour when you intend to spend just 10 minutes. So older people also get affected. Young people, the social media adapters, tend to get affected just as much as older people. And you want to get news from one source, and then ads come in, and you want to keep on looking, and it goes in a downward spiral. There are many ways that even adults and working professionals can mitigate that addiction and can get a handle on their social media usage. There are lots of tools nowadays that can help us streamline our feeds and lots of best practices. For example, right, you have your mobile phones these days and your email notifications come in by the minute. One thing we like to say is have specific times of the day when you check your email, right? You only respond to emails, you say maybe 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and say 6 p.m. But in between, you are working or doing what you really have to get done. And at those designated times, you can go on social media and respond to what has to get done, and you get out and get back to the business of living.
Well, it's good advice, that you're giving because social media has affected a lot. But addiction, at least if you're addicted to certain websites, it's a good thing, isn't it? So how do you balance, being addicted to the right kind of, having the right kind of addiction, and how does this addiction really affect your life? I mean, you have lots of friends on social media, but in real life, you have very, very few friends.
Yes. Yes. Well, social media addiction feeds off of an actual syndrome. It's called FOMO. FOMO is called the fear of missing out syndrome. And it's a real thing. Look it up right after this, right? It's that thing that makes you feel like there's so much going on out there that you have to keep a track of. I want to know what my friends ate for dinner. I want to know where they went. And it's a real problem. So I don't think there's any kind of addiction that's a good thing, but we have to practice self-mastery and be in control of the content that we consume. If we know that there's an actual syndrome that we can get a control over, we can control the way social media defines us. One major way to do that, personally, I have a lot of friends on social media, but all my notifications are turned off. I only go to Facebook when I want to engage. it doesn't have the full effect on me. I use Facebook. Facebook does not use me. The same thing on Twitter. I have tons of followers. I also have many people that I'm following, but it can be hard to keep up with the thousands of people that I follow on Twitter. So what I do is to create what we call a Twitter list. It's a feature for free that's on Twitter. Twitter list can help you to aggregate, even if it's your best 10 handles you want to follow for information. And you can focus on that small stream for what you really need to get, and so on and so forth. But we need to practice that self-governance, and there are tools in place that can help us.
Really important advice you're giving us, John. I mean, at the end of the day, the sky will still be blue, sun and day will still remain, even if we don't get the information about what our friends are eating or where they are or how they're having fun. Well, thanks a lot, John Ovidi, for joining us on Network Africa.
It's been a pleasure.
And that's Network Africa today. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani.